Good morning, happy Monday. Jackie here from TBA Law. Today's topic is some information about when you're buying a property that's already leased. So whether it's an investment property that you're buying or whether it's a property that's got a tenant in it that you eventually want out because you want to live in it. So buying leased property is our topic today. So I do these regular little information sessions, Facebook Live on Mondays at 10. If you want to catch what the topic's going to be, we do publish that on the weekend, and so that you know what's coming up. And then these videos get posted to our Facebook page so that you can go back through all the videos, and if something's relevant for you, you can, or someone that you know, you can tag them in that. Now, I'm a wills and estate specialist, so most of the videos have been on wills and estate planning and deceased estates. But TBA Law also does a lot of property work, so the last 3 videos or so have been on buying and selling real estate. And today is also along those themes. So for those who are buying an investment property and looking for a property that has a good tenant in it, this video will hopefully help guide you a little bit. So, the first thing to work out is when you're hunting around for a residential property that you might want to live in, is to check whether it's leased or not. Is the vendor that's selling it actually living in the property? So will it be guaranteed that you will get vacant possession at settlement? If there is a lease on the property, then you may not get vacant possession on settlement. So this is something you need to be aware of if it's a property that you don't want to continue to be leased. So if you buy the property, you need to have a look at the lease and see whether you can give notice to the tenant to leave by the time of settlement, or whether you leave the tenant in there until you then own it after settlement and give them notice then. So you have to give 60 to 90 days notice usually for a tenant. And quite often, if they are in a fixed period of their lease, you can't give them notice. So be aware of that. Don't assume that you can get a tenant out easily if you want to live in it. So that's the first point. If you're buying it to have an ongoing tenant there, then you want to again have a look at the lease and see what the lease term is. Are they in a fixed term? Do you work out who the managing agent is? Do you want to change managing agents? Do you want to approach the tenant and provide them a longer fixed term so that you guarantee that they will stay in there? If the tenant is no longer on a fixed term, so they're out of the first 6 to 12 months of their lease, they're only on a month to month, what are their intentions? Are they going to leave? If you want it to be an investment property, you need to make sure there's a secure lease. So residential leases are fairly straightforward. Most real estate agents actually manage the residential lease for you. A solicitor generally doesn't manage a residential lease, and we certainly don't. So we can give you advice on the lease, we can help prepare a new lease, but we don't actually manage it. So worthwhile handing that over to an agent. But as I was saying, most residential leases are fairly standard, so we can give you advice around those, and they all look fairly much the same. However, if you're looking at investment properties that are commercial properties, so either retail premises or workshops or factories, and there's someone in there, there's a business running in there, so you're buying it as an investment, again, you want to have a look at the lease. So the leases in those sort of situations are more complex. For retail leases, there is a standard retail lease that should be used, and in fact, majority of businesses in Victoria are retail businesses. This has been recent developments in the law. So even if they're wholesale providers, they will be considered a retailer for leasing purposes. It's only really potentially farms and industrial commercial sites that probably aren't considered retail and would have a special sort of lease. So again, we look at that lease, we work out what the term that they're in for. Are they in their first 5-year or 3-year term? How many options do they have on their lease? You have to understand that tenants have the right to take that option up if they like, and you can't refuse it. So if you're looking to buy a property for move your own business in, and there is a tenant already in there, make sure that they're towards the end of their lease, because you won't be able to get them out easily. They are allowed to keep their options going. You can't refuse an option. The other thing about commercial property is what you intend to do with the property. Again, you need to let us know what you're intending to do with the property so we can give you advice around the lease. So the first one is, if you want to move your business into the property and there's a current lease, we need to give you advice around that. If you have development plans for the property, we have to look at the lease and give you advice around that, because quite often there are clauses in the lease that if you're looking to tear down the building or partially renovate, or you've got huge plans, you need to relocate the tenant. You need to find them similar premises, and if the premises cost more, you need to pay the shortfall. So it's really important that you do tell us what your intention is with a commercial property that is leased, so that we can actually look at that lease in light of the context that you're buying it in. So buying leased property, while property is quite often a great investment, tenants can be difficult. So again, you want us to check leases, whether it's residential or commercial, and you want a full understanding of how the lease actually works. So those are the main things that I really wanted to talk about. If it's residential and you want to move into it, but there's a tenant, don't assume that you can get them out easily. Actually get some advice from us around the lease. So you work out the notice period. If it's a residential property and you want to keep the tenant in there, look at the lease, see if you want to give them a longer fixed term if they're a good tenant, or if you want to change your managing agent. So it's the management of it that you're looking at more than anything. And then the third thing was around commercial property. So there are a variation of leases on commercial properties if you're buying an investment property for commercial purposes. And tell us what your intention is with that commercial premises so we can give you advice on that lease. So those three main things to think about. Again, like I said, this video will be posted to the page, so you can go back and have a look at all the videos that might be relevant for you and tag someone in it if it's relevant for them. And otherwise, I'm in Facebook Live most Mondays from 10 o'clock. Most of my videos have been on wills and estates, but I'm doing a short series at the moment on real estate, so buying and selling property, conveyancing process, and all that sort of stuff. So I hope that was useful. Again, the video will be posted permanently on the page, so you can go back to it.